Hey, bro. Right.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
I'm just working on something. So hold on.
Yeah, you have a echo too.
Hey, sissy.
Hey, I know you're gonna be on here today. I just finished teaching a sewing class.
How did it go?
You know, your sister wind up taking over.
Of course.
Well, the lady was getting on people's nerves. Um, I had already told her I already know how to sew. I just wanted to go for the fellowship. She said, "Oh, you're not a sew?" Yeah, I said, "Yeah, I went to school for fashion." Blah 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 blah. You know, she said, "Oh, well, then you could be my assistant." I said, "Okay, no problem." I look like I'm gonna be winding up teaching that class.
That's just the Gemini in you.
I tell you, I was like, because she was taking her time explaining stuff, but she wasn't explaining. So she was reading it from the book, and I'm like, and these people sitting there bored out of their mind because there's people in there who already know how to sew because they were in her class last year, but they didn't understand it. So that's why they back in it. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
there, but there's still you have a mixture of newbies and old school in a sense. And so what I did is every time that, today we were explaining the different parts of the sewing machine. And you
Okay.
know me, I like to explain the part, but why we use it. What's the reasoning for us using that? She just would say, that's what that is. Now let's go to the next one. No, tell them what it's for. And it made them understand better. So when I left, I said, look, I got to go on my brother's podcast. So I got to go. I'm already leaving late. And so as I was, they was like, thank you so much. And they was clapping.
Uh-huh.
I said, call me if you need me. But we finished that chapter. So that was a good thing. But she talks like she's scared to talk to people, but she's really not scared to talk to people. But the way she talks to people and she talks down to them like with her children. Well, I have these. If you don't have your machine, then I have this over here if you need to use it. But you're not gonna be using it all the time, nigga. Then don't bring it. Well, I send y'all emails. Y'all need to read your emails.
Wow. What's the
Yeah.
anger? The
Now
aggression.
look. Two people was ready to quit. So I said, look, I got your back. I got your back. And so one of the girls, she doesn't have a sewing machine and she didn't want to buy one without knowing what was the best one to buy. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So I told her, I said, we're supposed to go take a tour of Joanne's. And I said, a lot of times Joanne will, what the heck? Hold on. Something just notified me about what? Laptop notification, lab service treat. Oh, okay, whatever. What was I saying? Oh,
So was
some
at the
people,
church?
huh? Yeah, it's at the church. Yeah, it's at the church. I was trying to get more involved in my church, like I
Yeah.
did when I was in Columbia. Because I
Hmm.
feel empty that I'm not doing doing stuff like I used to.
Right.
And so anyway, they're doing small groups, and this group maybe has like 15 people in it, which is fine. I like that. You get to learn more people of the church and what have you, and you get to do something that you love. So, but anyway, I told her when we go to Joanne's that, when you go there, they normally will tell you about the materials, but they also tell you about the differences in the machines and stuff. But this lady is like, don't give a rat's tail if somebody has it. You need to just have a sewing machine. Don't just send somebody to get a sewing machine,
Yeah, because it's
especially
a
if they
waste.
don't know what they're getting. Because
Right.
we got a couple of people in there that got digital sewing machines and don't know what the hell to do with it. I've never worked on a digital sewing machine, so I don't know how to help you.
Right.
So but there's another assistant. She actually has a digital sewing machine. I personally don't think that people who are just learning how to sew need an
Something
advanced
so
sewing machine
complicated.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so complicated in advance, right?
Yeah. So anyway, but it was cool. But I had to speed the class up, but try to give them details and also show them. So she really wasn't showing. No, she was. I don't know how that class was last year, but we're gonna make sure these ladies lead this daggone class knowing and have confidence in themselves to sew on their own. One lady was scared to put a foot on the pedal.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so, and I know you probably don't know what I'm talking about, and you probably do, but don't tell them that this is a bobbin or this is a bobbin threader. What does the bobbin threader do? What does the bobbin look like? You know what I mean? So
That's the
I didn't
where the
bring.
thread is, the little spoolie thing that's the thread is on. That's right. I don't
Say
know
it
about
again.
the bobbin is the little spoolie thing with the thread. Is that the bobbin?
Yeah, the little small one that looks like a tiny a spool of thread. Yes.
Okay, okay. Oh, I'll be knowing stuff. Look at that. Look at that. Oh,
Yeah,
girl,
that's why I said that you probably don't know, but you probably do.
I don't
Hey,
know from experience. I can tell you that. I probably read it in a book somewhere, and I definitely don't know from experience.
all right. Well, all these police, what exit am I gonna go through? Because if you all these police over here, I'm not gonna go through this exit. I'm sorry. What was you saying?
No, I said I definitely don't know from experience. I probably read it in a book somewhere because I definitely don't know from experience.
Oh, but you probably know a little bit more than you think you do. Because if you knew what a bobbin was, then you know more than you think you do.
Yeah, probably from watching you.
But it was really interesting. But I do feel that I'm gonna wind up taking over the class. Or if I don't take over the class, not trying to, I seriously believe that a lot of people are gonna come to me for advice.
Okay.
Yeah, she's supposed to teach them how to make an outfit and we're gonna model it.
A whole outfit? How long is the class for?
Or something. It's 9 weeks.
Oh, okay. They should be
This
able
is
to
our
learn.
second week. Oh, he's about to get started. Okay.
Okay.
All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observation, and entertainment, I ask that you comment, like, share, and subscribe.
Welcome, everybody. This is DFG here from the 571, where I'm having fun and I'm doing things the way I do them. Welcome to my show. Today I'm going to be doing a show talking about parenting while Black. It's my other podcast where usually I talk about various subjects, but this subject is close and near and dear to my heart. It is parents with autistic children. I'm waiting on my guest to come on tonight, but while I'm here, let me tell you a little bit about me. I am a old dude from a long time ago. As you can see, I pledged Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated back in 1988 at Benedict College. Go BC, go Tigers. BC, you know. I have three sons, a 30-year-old, my 28-year-old who you saw in the beginning, and a 27-year-old. My 28-year-old has been diagnosed with autism. We found out, I was in the Army and we were in Germany. When he was walking, everything was normal. Then one day he sat down, he was about 7 months old, and he just stopped doing anything. We thought he was deaf, so we went and got him tested. If you ever been in Germany, you know their medical system is, and I'm saying this because I experienced it. Their medical system is 8,000 times better than it is in the United States. Just saying it, doing it, and that's you know, anybody who's been over there understands Europe has a better healthcare system than we do. Well, anyway, found out that he was tested, and we found out that he was autistic. Well, the wife and I did this, and we was like, well, what are we going to do? So we delved into getting our stuff done and doing research. As y'all know, if you're in the Black community, you know we don't look at things the way I think we should. Maybe we do, but a lot of us, especially back in the early 90s when we were just realizing how big autism was, we we got him tested. We got him in early intervention. He had a lot of problems with impulsivity. We didn't really want to do meds because we were like, we didn't want him to be a druggie. But as he got older and less and more impulsive, we found that medicine helped him a lot. It made him calmer and be able to think. At first, he was nonverbal for the first 10, 12 years of his life. He could say, right now, he has a speech pattern of about a 5-year-old, but his mind is a lot faster than that. He is very intelligent. He taught himself how to use computer devices. He learned American Sign Language, and he communicates with on joining me on the screen are two of my sisters who he affectionately calls them the aunts. First one is Chocolate Pearl, my favorite girl. She is my sister from the same Mr. and the same Mrs. Hey, introduce yourself, Chocolate Pearl.
Hey, everybody. I'm sorry I'm driving, trying to make it home. I'm Chocolate Pearl calling you from the 904 Duval in Jacksonville, Florida. Living life like it's golden. Thank you for having me on today.
You always you're not a guest, you family. And on the lower end is my middle sister, my sister Kendra. We call her Apple. Go on and introduce yourself, Apple.
Well, I don't have a fancy introduction like you and Chocolate Pearl, but hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I live in New York City. I don't know what else to say.
Well, knowing that y'all been helping, y'all been helping me with mine as I've been helping you with yours. We just, family is family. If anybody's on, if you want to put in the chat box where you're listening in from, I really appreciate that. I'll give you a holla out. Um, Still waiting on my guest, but while I'm here, we just gonna talk a little bit. Um, Pearl, what is your experience with Daniel?
I remember when he was smaller, he would try to when y'all came to visit, he would always try to leave and escape out the front door. So somebody would have to, be by the door when he was younger. He was always trying to leave if he wasn't familiar with the area. But as he got older and I would come visit him, um, it'd be a different situation to where he felt scared of me, or he felt the authority. I'm not gonna say scared. He felt the authority of me. So when I spoke, he paid attention, or he scurried out of the room. He still somewhat does that now as an adult, but he understands everything that you're saying. Um, but he chooses what he wants to listen to or pay attention to, or stuff like that. But he's for his condition, he's a very intelligent young man, and like I said, he knows what he's doing.
Yes, he does.
He knows what he's doing.
He's more charming than his dad, and that's saying a lot because I'm the man with the golden voice, lady's choice, and of course, smooth as a Rolls Royce. How about you, Apple? How's your experience been with Daniel?
Well, I'm the favorite.
Why?
And
That's because you let him get away with stuff. I don't let him I treat him just like everybody else. I don't let him get away with nothing.
Well, I'm a favorite with all my nieces and nephews because I'm just that cool aunt. But I remember, like Chocolate Pearl said, when he was younger, he would try to escape all the time. When he would come visit, like, he's off this, I'm done with this whole situation, it's time to go home. Especially after he ate, which was funny. Like, if he ate something, it was time to go. It was time to go. But I always had like a special relationship with him. Like, he would come and he would actually sit around me, and he wouldn't mind if I talked to him, he'll talk back to me. I mean, we had a special kind of relationship. We still do to this day. He would actually answer my questions. He don't run out of the room like he does with Chocolate Pearl. We had a special kind of relationship. I think we still do in a lot
He
of sense.
runs out of the room because I won't let him get away with anything.
Well, I don't
he doesn't want to deal with that. He's like, look, she ain't gonna let me get away with it, so I'm going about my business.
No, I don't let him get away with anything, but I do talk to him. Maybe in not such a aggressive demeanor. Well, all the nephews are scared of you, Chocolate Pearl. They all scared of you. They don't play that with you. So,
well,
he ain't no different.
You have the spirit of Aunt Catherine in you, so you know how that
Definitely.
goes. Yeah. Well, thank y'all for saying anything. It's always good to know that being a parent of a child with disabilities or special needs is a challenge. It's something, but one thing I always say is that he made me a better man. And I'm sure his mother will say he made her a better woman. But that's you can either shrink from the challenge or you can rise to it. Now, I was the designated doctor taker to her, especially when it came to shots. I would try to make all the meetings when I wasn't deployed or doing something else military related. And I always make time to go see him because he just needs to know that somebody cares for him and somebody will hold him accountable because he's, like I said, he's a charmer. He will try to get away with anything he can just to make him, just so he won't get into trouble. What we did find out though was that in a group home that he's staying in, sometimes some other residents would do things to agitate him, and then I get the call, and I drop whatever I'm doing to go over there and handle the situation. But went to see him this weekend, and he looked kind of tired. I was like, "What you doing?" He said, "I'm sleepy." I said, "You ain't got no job. Why are you tired?" I said, "Why are you tired? You ain't got no job. What? Watching TV is making you sleepy? Yeah, you need a job, man. You need a lot."
His job,
Staying out of
excuse
trouble is a
me,
job.
and his job is to be handsome and charming. Excuse me, don't hate on my nephew. Thank you.
No,
Oh,
it's hard to stay out of trouble. It's a job to stay out of trouble.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. But he's been doing well. Every time I walk, every time I come in, because he doesn't know when I'm going to pop up, and they don't know when I'm going to pop up. So I know, kind of keeps them on their toes. First thing he says, "I behaved. I behaved." I mean, you want me to
Yeah,
know?
because when I see him, when we come to visit, that's the first thing he says when he comes through the door. When he sees the aunts, he says, "I behave," and
Mhm.
and I'm like, "I'm so proud of you." So he does like I say, he does know what he's doing. It's just that he's just like any other kid or any other, because he's still in like a kid or teenage mind that tries to get away whenever they can when they can, so they know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I,
definitely.
I have a I have
Wait.
a
Honest
friend.
question: is that being a kid, or is that being just a man trying to
Actually, that's
get
just being a
over?
person. That's just being a person. Period.
Look,
Everybody. Reason why I said a kid or a teenager is because when we were raising our children tried to get away with as much as they could, and once they
and so did our partners at times.
but
Well,
yeah, but women do the same thing. So that's why I said it's not a man thing. It's a human thing.
but that's the thing is that he's understanding he has limitations, but I try to treat him as normal as I can, dealing
Yeah.
dealing with him, and it's not it's rewarding when it's done right, but it's how can I put this? It's tiring when he's not in the best of moods. If he's agitated, his mother told me he's agitated, and then I'll go over there and know what to expect. And a lot of times I'm able to mitigate the issue with him being agitated. And I talked to him. I've done a few. If anybody wants to see any of my previous episodes of Parenting While Black, it's on my YouTube channel. Just type in hashtag DFG, it'll pull up. Andre Golden DFG, you can pull it up and look at previous episodes where I talk about the ups and downs of being a black dad of a child, a dad who's black, of a child with autism. It's not a rose garden, but it's not hell. Um, just knowing what I had to go through, what we had to go through, we had to do it separate, we had to do it together. Um, I think overall that he's he's as good as he's going to be, and some days I do wish he was not intellectually disabled, but you know, if it's and buts was candy and nuts. Um, but the thing is though is that he's very aware of his situation. He knows. One thing we did realize was that with the medicine, going back to what I was talking about with the medicines, he didn't he was on a medicine that caused him to eat a lot, and we didn't, it calmed him down, so we didn't really know. We didn't do our due diligence in the full research. Well, what happened was he gained a lot of weight between the ages of 13 and 20, and then one day he passed out, and we found out that his blood sugar was at 700. And you know, if you know about diabetes, anything in the triple digits is bad, and anything in the high triple digits is really bad. And had he not gone to the hospital, we may have lost him. So we it's a challenge to keep him from eating sweets. Hey, I like sugar. That's why I'm a little chunky myself. But overall, he understands, and I don't when I'm talking to him, especially when I got to talk to him on the phone when I'm on my way. Um, I don't sugarcoat it, because if you sugarcoat it or you talk off, he's not going to take it seriously. I said, "You must want to die." And he's like, "No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." I said, "Then why did you do what you do?" "I don't know." I said, "You just thought you can get away with it." But overall, like I said, uh, his brothers had helped out a lot with him. Sometimes it was frustrating because they couldn't go everywhere because he was a challenge to handle. So I would take Andre and Randall on trips. Like we went to Six Flags. We went to we came to the you remember Kendra, you remember we came to New York when I
Yes,
came
I
up
do.
and Randall, New York. That was like it was a while ago. They were teenagers. And we and I would drive Daniel up there every once in a while when I first moved to Virginia. But it was they actually understood later on as they got older. And you have to keep explaining because your children don't always want to listen, but that doesn't mean they're not paying attention. And that's one thing I gotta credit my sons, because they sometimes you don't think they and it's with most children. You don't think they're listening, but they're paying attention because they want to see if you're fair and not they want to see if you're fair and not just holding favorites or anything like that. But overall though, it's one of those things that we have to look at yeah, it's like it's just like we just have to be considerate, because what I realized is once you find out you have a child with special needs, you can start seeing things. When my oldest nephew was born and Chocolate Pearl and I were at lovely Benedict College matriculating, um, I was one of those. I was one of those old school, like my father, wanted to beat the mess out you, beat you to submission. But once I realized that that wasn't going to work, um, I had to scale back the way I disciplined. So I did more talking. No, don't make no mistake. The belt was always in my arsenal, but it was a nuclear option. So I never really had to use it. Um, I always taught them manners, and even Daniel, even sometimes when he he knows how to say thank you and he knows how to say please and he speaks to folks. So I'm glad that we did teach him how to do that and to be in his way be the best person he can be. And that's all I can ask as a dad. Um, my guest, I don't know what happened to my guest. I need to contact her and see if she's going to come on. But I like talking anyway.
But
So
I'm glad that you did open up about the fact that how you were raised, and this is how you thought that this was the way you're supposed to raise your children. I like how you said that, you realize, okay, that's not going to work for your children. Um, when it comes to raising children without a disability versus raising a child with disabilities, and you have two, um, what was the angle that you decided to take when trying to discipline them, or when it came down to their education or stuff like that? How did you handle that?
Well, with Junior, he's so laid, he's more laid back than I am, and that's saying a lot. So I don't think I ever popped him. I don't even remember. If I did, I can count it on one hand. Randall, ooh, for the first 3, 4 years, he was hell on wheels. He was my accessory though, but he was hell on wheels, and I had to exercise restraint because I was over in Germany. Andre and Daniel were both born in Germany, but Randall came over there what pre-assembled. Um, I'll give you a story. I took him to the store. We were getting some stuff for Tanya. It was he and I. Like I said, he was my accessory. I took him everywhere with me, and he's about 2.5, 3. He can talk, but he was like, I want candy. Well, he's like, I want candy. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get you any candy. I want candy. And we're at the register, and I'm looking at him like, no, you're not getting candy. And young man reaches and grabs, I'm thinking it was a chocolate bar or something, and he bit into it. And I looked at the cashier, and I was about to say, you better call the military police. I'm about to get hemmed up in here. I said, I need to pay for that. He's like, so I said, give it to me. And he gave it to me. He's like, he was thinking, I did what I wanted and I'm gonna get what I wanted. I said, can you please bring that up? And I put it in his face. I said, you wanted this, right? He said, yes. Boop, right in the trash. Grabbed him by the hand and walked out of the store.
Absolutely. That's what I would have done.
That's
too.
exactly. I don't care what you got going on. That's what I would have done.
So and also like we'd be in church and little boy just like to kick up he'd like to kick up a storm and he'd act a fool. And I'd be like, so my key word to him was, do we need to go to the bathroom? He knew what that meant. Because
But back then, did you know that he had this disability?
With Randall, no, he had a little LD, but for the most part, he was just being a little boy. And
Okay.
that was something there with Daniel. Once we found out that he was on the spectrum, we modified the way we treated him, but we did not let him get away with stuff.
Right.
We didn't let it.
How did you modify? When you
Um,
say you modify, how did you modify?
I did not yell at him. I did not yell at him. I did not act a fool because we Goldens and Goldens can act a fool. I talked to him and when necessary, I just grabbed him and held him.
Mm-hmm.
When he was small enough to do that, as he got older, I had to like bear hug him and like
Right.
I'm bigger than you. I'm bigger than you. And most of the time, no, it was Daniel. And like now, I said, Daniel, do I need to come? And he's like, no, no, Dad, no, don't come, don't come. But I come anyway. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But that's how I modified it. I realized I didn't have to be a terror to terrorize my children. I just had to be stern
Right.
and lead when it came time to correct, to teach, to train.
See,
And
that's what I guess that's where it came in with me being stern. When I would come visit as he become a teenager, close to adulthood, I would go visit. And when I spoke with his mother, he would uh, interrupt us in conversations because he didn't want me talking to her or he wanted her attention. And so I actually had to be stern with him, like, no, you cannot talk to her while I'm talking with her at this time. And when we finish, she will come and, handle you or whatever. But I noticed if I went and had conversations with him, he would have the conversations with me, and I talk to him, normal like I normally do. And he would say, okay, and then he'll go back in his room and he'll wait. But
Yeah.
I realized that I had to be stern with him in order for him to not fight back or be aggressive towards me. If I had placed my authority in his face, then he knew not to try me on those instances. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We
Yes.
have a visitor on. His name is Davs McInnes. He's a friend of mine that he's actually a teacher who teaches disabled I don't know what to call them, but
With special needs children.
special needs. There you go. He teaches that. Davs, introduce yourself. You got to unmute.
How you doing?
There you go.
All right. Hello, my name is Daz. I am a special ed teacher. Been in the field for quite a long time. I'll tell you how long, and I'll give away my age. So
don't worry about it.
We all old.
I was about to say
but yeah, I've been in the field for over 30 years.
Okay. And what got you started in special education?
Wow, actually it was way back in high school. I used to go over to our elementary school and help out over when I was in high school. It was really close to our high school, so I used to go over and help out, and that really got me started in special education.
Where did you go to undergrad?
I went to University of Phoenix.
Okay.
In Grand Canyon. I got my master's in special education at Grand Canyon.
Okay. And what level are you instructing?
Right now, the kids I have are middle school age.
So, that's got to be rough.
Yeah. It's all good. I have 6 kids. That's a good thing.
Well, I mean, trust me, as doing volunteering, my late aunt, she was a principal of a school in South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
Where they had a lot of special needs. So I understood that the ratios and
oh yeah.
And my frat brothers and I, we used to go there and be mentors and things of that nature. So we understand and dealing with my middle son over 4 states. Trust me, you get to learn this. You get to learn the system. And
oh yeah,
one thing that most, especially us of color, we don't really know how to advocate for our children.
True, so true.
We get frustrated with the bureaucracy of the system, and we're myopic in not being able to articulate our frustrations. Then we come off being the angry Black woman or the angry Black man, and the one, the ones that, the stereotype come in with a bonnet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
House coat on, saying her kid is perfect and all the teachers are pieces of crap, and they have not been to a parent teacher meeting.
Right.
They don't
keep up some ruckus.
Right. They don't sit in the IEPs. If they sit in the IEPs, they don't ask for people to explain
right
why they do what they do. It's tough. It's tough for educators, and I understood that, just being on the other side of being a parent of a child with special needs, that I admire what you do, and I give you the leeway and the latitude to do what you need to do to get that child educated.
Right.
A lot of there are organizations out there like Defeat Autism Now. There are a lot of support groups. I'm in one on Facebook for especially for parents of children of color. I invited a couple of people on it to talk about it. But it's one of those things that when you're talking about this, and this is for people who don't have children on on the spectrum, you have to understand that sometimes there are things that are going to confuse you and frustrate you about a child with special needs. And you got to understand the teachers are human. They get frustrated too.
Oh yeah.
And they have to by law not react. That's
Right.
so if you're out there and you feel like the teachers are not doing anything, it's not that they're not doing anything. They're doing everything within the letter of the law because people are litigious and they like to sue.
Oh
And
yeah. And that's one of the biggest thing I believe that I've dealt with so far, mostly in the district, mostly when I'm in a school district, but private school is a little bit different. But you deal with so much, like I said, bureaucracy that it really ties teachers' hands of things that we could do and things that we could say, and everybody's watching, and it really restricts teaching, or especially even like in a regular system, it just really restricts a teacher from teaching
right.
necessary things to make to hopefully help the student.
But also you got to consider that the parents are supposed to be the first teachers, but they abdicated their responsibility for employment, and they delegated teaching to Coco Melon and Barney
Right.
and the square box with the images that come out. Um, TV is a tool, but some people use the tool as a crutch and not to supplement what they should be teaching them.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't teach you manners. Your parents should. Teachers does teach. I mean, even the teachers can only do so much. I remember one time when I was in Texas, and the teacher was just gushing about my son, about how well behaved he was, and how he was a standout for his behavior, and I had to stop her. I said, I appreciate the compliments, but that's not a good thing. My child should be the rule, not the exception.
Right.
And a lot of times parents don't get that because they take anything against their child as an indictment of their abilities, their parenting abilities. Hey, we don't get manuals on how to parent.
Oh no, that ain't
So
coming.
everyone learns as they go. Some are better than others, but you have to set the baseline. If your children will only do what they see you do, if you do not make school a priority, guess what? They ain't making school a priority. If you don't make manners and um, just being polite to people a priority, your children won't. We've seen that everybody has that neighbor, that family member, that individual you see in the supermarket, and you can tell when a child, I mean, I'm sure as a special education teacher, I'm not saying it's a sense, but you can sense when a child is neurodivergent. Am I correct?
Oh yeah. Well,
And you've learned patterns of behavior to where, when I was younger, when my nephew Justin was about 2 or 3, if a child was acting up in the supermarket, I'd be ready to snatch that child up because that, like my sister said, that's how we were taught.
right.
My mother would have a ton of kids with her, and she'd be like, they had Key Foods. It's in Long Island City, New York, and we'd have to walk there because we ain't had cars in New York. And before we went in the store, she put Apple in the cart. She'd have Farrah in her arms, and me and Chocolate Pearl be walking behind, and we had to hold on to one hand on the cart. And she said, "Don't look at nothing. Don't touch nothing."
Right. Don't ask for nothing. Don't look at nothing.
Don't ask for nothing. and 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 we that was the 70s, so we was
Right.
know how that was, but in today's society, you could tell a child that has special needs over just an overindulgent child. Um, Daniel learned he would fall out when we were young, when he was younger, but I had to put a stop to that. Like, nope, we will not. I said, oh, so you must not want anything in your room, and he'd be like, even though he was very impulsive, he would stop. He would stop what he was doing. Oh, let me think about this. But, what's the biggest besides sometimes, especially with parents of color, not lack of interest, but not really understanding how the system works, the reason for IEPs and the reason for participation from them and feedback. What challenges have you found that that you think we have, that people should know, that we probably need to make sure that people know?
Well, I think you just wrote down most of it. Besides, I sometimes I feel like some of them just don't care, unfortunately, and that's really sad. But
But that's neurotypical kids' parents too.
Yeah.
You got Gloctavius in there, and little Tupac.
Oh yeah. That comes in all. Little Tupac, that comes in all.
Did you just say little Tupac?
Little Tupac.
Yep. Chronisha and Selphoniqua.
I had a couple of them.
And I'm gonna get dinged for this, but what the hell? If you name your child Selphoniqua or Alizé or something like that, or put a Lafasha, an apostrophe. If your child has apostrophe,
no, lemon jello.
Yeah, lemon jello and orangelo.
Yeah, lemon jello, yeah, or orange jello.
Or El Dashia, the dash be silent.
Yeah.
So, we joke about that, but parents, in the attempt to make their child unique, they get singled out,
right?
And people don't realize that your children are a reflection of you. No matter what you try to say, your children are a reflection of you, and that's one thing that I put into my children. You're a reflection of me, so I better not have to come up to that school, because trust me, my mother used to come up to the school for me. My sisters can tell you.
She came up for all of us.
Came up for all of us. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
If she came, she was one of those mothers. If she had to leave work to come, and because we didn't have no car, so she had to walk from her job or take the bus, and had to come to the school. Because remember, she used to work for the welfare office.
Mm-hmm.
She'll come up there and act a fool, and she wouldn't act a fool on the teacher. She act a fool on us.
We was always at fault because she knew her kids.
Yes, she knew her children,
and
she only came up to me one time. That's all I needed. And I straightened up and I flew right afterwards because I did not want that smoke. You hear me?
But as bad as we talk about our mother like that, my father came up a couple of times. Yeah.
Now that was the man that you did not play with whatsoever. If he was always a happy-go-lucky type person, always help you, did a lot for people. But if he had to come for any discipline, he said if he had to take time to discipline you, he was going to discipline you.
And he used to work third shift at the hospital, so he slept during the day. And if they had to call him and he had to come to school, it was when I was in Catholic school. I went to Catholic school for the first 3 years. I wound up getting kicked out, but that was just being a little ghetto boy with a little issues. But yeah, he would. I would. Whew, and that's another reason why I chose not to be as physical with my children as my father was with me. My guess is she may be able to come on, but her son just had another seizure. That it's okay, hey, Parent first. Parent first. That's hey, I'm with that. I'm with that.
So tell me, Dav, what advice do you give parents of spectrum children of how to handle questions from the teachers? If you understand what I was trying to say.
So question, well, I guess, yeah, it really would depend on the question. The biggest thing for, like he mentioned, the biggest thing for parents is really just, be involved. Questions get answered easier if you're involved. You know what's going on. Instead of just sending your kid to school, like you said, missing the IEP meetings. I don't know how many times I've been through that, and parent don't show up. Matter of fact, I just was supposed to have one last month. We just ended up writing the IEP without the parent showing up. It's just like act like you care a little bit, be involved somewhat. And if it's the IEP meeting, or come to parent night, something we do, because we do lots of stuff at the school I'm at now and at other schools as well. Just got to get involved with your kid. Whether they're special needs or not, really, but more special needs, because like you said, you got to advocate. That's the biggest thing, because if you're not there talking about what your kid needs, I mean, a lot of them will send them to school, and there's some stuff they do at home that they may not necessarily do at school, and there's some stuff they do at school they may not necessarily do at home. When the kids I work with, and usually anytime, just like you said, there's been a few times I've gotten some issues because I talk to them, I try to talk to my kids like people. And I'm hoping the parents will, talk to them, don't belittle the kid, because he's got a special need. Try to treat him as a person. Even if may have to get a little loud. A lot of people don't like it, but once in a while, hey, sit down. Hey, be quiet, and then, again, just those, I think, are some of the things that, it'd be easier for parents to understand if they was to be a little bit more involved in what's going on instead of just dropping their kids off.
As a teacher, do you think that parents need to take classes in how to, I don't want to say handle, but how to maintain their lifestyle with autistic child?
Oh, most definitely. If not classes, at least get into some groups. Get into with some other parents that have autistic children. And those are we have some of them, and those are some of the best parents that we have, is the ones that are in groups that talk to each other and understand. One might be able to tell them something that their student is doing or their kid is doing, and those kind of things really help out.
Definitely. Trust me, a support system is very important. Just want to let everybody know that my special guest has arrived. She had a little difficulties, but she's here. I would like to introduce to some, present to others, Miss Jessica. She's calling all the way from lovely Augusta, Georgia. Say hi, Jessica.
You're still on mute. All right.
Oh, can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, DFG, okay. You're not gonna say to her like you say to us, so we can't get up and mute.
Yeah, no. What I usually say, Jess, is you have to be smarter than the equipment.
Yes.
but that's okay. That's okay. I'm glad that you were able to make it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've got 3 lovely sons, and my middle son, Marcellus, is autistic. He's 21, going on 22. He's nonverbal. He is severely low functioning autism. And that was one of my little complications today. He's been battling seizures. So we've been seizing since 1:00 this morning. So we're just trying to make it through. That's it. Trying to make it through. So.
Well, let me introduce you to everybody on the panel today. First, we have First, we have my favorite girl, the Chocolate Pearl. That's one of my sisters. We got my other sister, Miss Apple, and she's up in lovely New York City. Chocolate Pearl is in Jacksonville, and we have Mr. David McInnes. He's a special ed teacher. Just we were just talking about how parents are the child's best advocates. Now, do you have an example of when you had to advocate for your son that you felt?
Every day. Every day we are struggling with the school system now, due to his behaviors, due to the autism. And it's gotten to the point where I'm literally not working a full-time job because they're calling me 3 to 5 days a week because they can't handle the behaviors. He's got behavior coach, ABA therapy, and nothing seems to work. Any slight change with him triggers these behaviors, which triggers seizures. And once he has these seizures, he has combative seizures. So then we've had to get attorneys involved because it's like, okay, how can I live, how can I maintain if I can't even send him to school? And I kind of came in on the end of you guys talking about like having a social life or being in social groupings, but it's difficult when you've got a child that has such severe issues that you really are limited on what you can do. So we have to advocate because he's nonverbal. He can't say this is going on or that's going on with me. So I'm literally at that school, where's the behavior coach? Where's the speech therapist? Where's it? Even though he may never speak, we still have to give him these tools. He's entitled to have a speech coach. He's entitled to occupational therapy. He's supposed to have these things. So he can't say, Mom, nobody came today. He's got a
Right.
one-on-one there that helps him. But if she's not there, okay, where's the backup person? And if there's not, then they're calling me. So it's a struggle.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know my brother probably thinks I'm taking over, but he's used to
That's
this.
okay.
Do you find yourself wondering because we were talking about this earlier about my nephew, that he knows what he's doing and he's just frustrated? So he's frustrated because nobody else understands him, or is he frustrated because he just found out there's something else wrong with him and he doesn't know how to express it, and because he can't verbalize, is that a reasoning why he's acting out, which getting him upset and stressing him out to cause him to have a seizure?
I
You believe that
believe
that's
so.
what it is?
Yes, I believe that any slight change, and he can't tell you, okay, I didn't like this, or this person may have done this, or I just don't like what's going on. He can't express himself. So the only way he knows to express is to act out, to have a behavior, to have a breakdown.
Right.
And
Right.
when it gets so frustrating to him, then his body just reacts, and that's when the seizures take over. But I
Right.
agree. I think it's a lot of him not being able to verbalize what's going on. He's probably thinking, why can't y'all figure out what I'm trying to tell y'all, or what I'm
Right.
trying to
Right.
say, and we, as his family members, my other two children, we kind of can pick up and we notice the different things. I'll tell them quickly, what happened in school today, then they're looking like, how do you know something happened? Because I know how he's acting. Something had
Right.
to happen, and then, well, I wasn't in the class and I know, someone else was there. It was, and I popped in so many days, and it's like, okay, who are all these people? And this is why the triggers too many people around. It's, and where are they? What are they doing? Why are all these people in the classroom? These are triggers for him. He's used to maybe 1 to 2 people, and if you go in there and there's 5 or 6 different people, that is way out of his element, and he's going to react.
That's what a reason why I asked you that, because I know with my nephew, DGF's excuse me, not the right name. I
Yeah.
just can't stand his name. I can never remember the letters.
Feel good.
But I can remember when my nephew, he would act out, and a lot of us at the time didn't know why. We just, thought it was crazy. But
Mhm.
when, I guess, so many ways of him acting, we started learning his disabilities and how it works. And like you wasn't on earlier, but I was saying that with me, the difference between me and my sister of how we react to Daniel is I treat him just like anybody else. If you're doing something wrong, I'm gonna tell you.
Yep.
You know, and to the point where I established that with him to where he knows Auntie don't play.
But you
So
also got to remember that.
I'm not even going to deal the cards because she don't play.
Well,
But
you also got to remember, I worked in the population, so I have tools that you may not have, and
right,
I know how to communicate better with the population, you know, and that's why I have a different relationship with him than you do, because I've worked in that population. I know. I try to look for signs for triggers and things like that to try to avoid it. And maybe you
right.
didn't know to do that. So
And
that's
Well, and
that's
since
the
I didn't
reason.
have to do that because you know he would go to the other room.
right, de-escalation
He didn't deal with me.
is an art and a
Mhm.
Yeah.
skill.
So do you
And you
think that
also got to remember, like she was saying, um, as advocates, or people that work in the population or have family members, we get frustrated, but we got to realize that they get more frustrated because they're
right,
unable to communicate, some of them, and they don't understand why we don't understand what they're trying to convey.
right,
So if you take it from, if you empathize with that, okay, if I was in this position and they're treating me this way, and I'm trying to let them know that this is what I want, this is what I'm trying to tell you, and they're not getting it, of course it's going to come off, maybe with a little violent, or disagreeable, or what have you. It depends
right.
on the individual.
So it kind of stunts back to where I was talking to Dab when I was asking Dabs that do you think that parents need to take a class? I like the fact that Jessica, you can recognize when your son is in trouble
Mhm.
and he couldn't verbalize it. So you can tell that something happened. Unfortunately, other people couldn't. But there are parents, and probably Dab can back me up on this. There are parents who just don't care, or just don't want to deal with it, and they send them to the school and let the school deal with it. And that puts on extra stress on that child as well as the educator. So I personally think that once you find out that your child is in this situation, that whoever is telling you this, instead of giving me a pamphlet of what medications I can put my child on, give me a pamphlet where I can go to a class so I can figure out how to communicate with my child better, or I can communicate with the educators and ask the right questions so my child can be taken care of properly.
It, I agree. And that's why we ended up getting the ABA therapy to have different plans, that because at the end of the day, yeah, he has a ton of medications. These medications really don't touch him, and this is what I tell them: why continue to give him these things and they're not helping with any behaviors or anything like that. So let's figure out, when I notice the triggers, I go in and I'll tell them, okay, this is what's going on. Let's limit the amount of people, or we need to put him on a restroom schedule because he's still, he's totally incontinent. So, but he's 21, he's a young man, he understands I need to use the bathroom. So that's when that tapping gets to happen. And so then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to pee on myself. Who wants to pee on themselves or be in a diaper full of poop at 21 years old? So these are things that are happening to where he's becoming violent because he's tapping himself first. And then nobody, why are you hitting yourself? Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. No, he's trying to let you know something's going on. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to go to the bathroom. And a lot of times they don't get it, or someone new in the class, they don't understand, they want to call crisis management. He's hurting himself, he needs to go to the bathroom. It's something as simple as
It
that.
seems like the way you describing it, it just seems like frustration
Mm-hmm.
because you don't understand what that means. I've been doing this for how long? I've been in this class, and you still don't understand it. And I and I take that back to the I'm not gonna necessarily say the educator themselves, but
Mm-hmm.
how the school aligns the different instructors that don't have that background, because obviously who's ever maintaining that class really doesn't know how to maintain that class. Because
Right.
matter of fact, Dabs and I, when we were walking, I'll ask him how work goes, and he'll tell me about different aspects of what happened in his class. And he
Mhm.
was telling me about there's some of his students who have certain signals that you recognize, or you know what that means, or even if you I think he even knows when the child's about to act up. And knowing that as a teacher or educator or even an assistant will actually diffuse a lot of that anger and frustration. So when that child comes home, he won't have the seizures, or he won't be upset, or he won't come home with a messy, clothes, because of the educators are not properly being educated to train these or teach these students, and they just glorify babysitters.
But that's
I was
the
teasing, I
right.
was
But
teasing him yesterday. I said, "Oh, you just a glorified babysitter," you know. And I was just teasing. He knew I was just playing, but it's just the fact that even though I was playing, it's true for certain people. If you don't have, like my sister said, she was, around that to where she was able to recognize and how to communicate. I'm not. But even though me and my nephew, we do have a certain communication, I do speak with him. We do have a conversation, but he knows that he don't come around me because he knows that I'm not gonna let him get away with anything. Like when we call him our grizzly bear, because at night he comes and he looks for junk food throughout the house when everybody's asleep. But when he's about to do something he's not supposed to, and if he happened to see me, he turns the other way.
That's my sister. You right with my sister with that. Like, Jessica, don't let him do this. Well, you
I
gotta
mean,
have.
don't get me wrong. I'm not as hard as I say I'm portraying myself to be, but I do recognize certain signs when it comes down to him because I do pay attention. But like I said, him and I have a certain rapport with each other to where he knows that I'm the auntie that don't play, and he knows that Apple is the favorite. I hate to say she is, but she actually is. She deals with, like, with her daughter. I can just say certain things and her daughter will back down, to the point where different ways of we communicate with our families, we still can recognize certain things. I didn't understand her relationship with her mother until I got to hang out with her a little longer, and I'm basically on a one-on-one, and then I got to understand her, and then that's how we be able to communicate a little bit better. But it took the time for me to learn that, and I don't think a lot of these educators I know some of them just getting a job and they just say, okay, I'm just a glorified babysitter, so I'm just gonna sit in this class and let these kids act up, and I'm not gonna pay them no attention, or I don't understand them, so I'm just leave them like that, or I'm gonna call the authorities because they're getting on my nerves, type thing. We need to make sure that we have the right educators in these classrooms that will take the time to learn each one of their students, because each one of their students, whether they have a disability or not, needs to have a certain what's the word I'm looking for? I guess love from, how you say you don't have favorite children, but you do. But you handle each child differently. Even though you said you have 3 boys, and even though you have one that's, have a disability, you still love them all the same, but you treat them differently because each child have a different handicap, whether you want to really call it a handicap or not. But everybody has some type of handicap that you got to deal with them in a different way. We need that in our school systems, to where I hate the fact that your child is not being attended to like he needs to be, because if he's tapping his leg, his hand on his leg, and that says, I got to go to the bathroom, and you keep getting a rotation of different instructors coming in, that's going to disturb my mind too. Because when I keep getting a different person each time, that means I got to now your son got to retrain these people all over again.
Yes.
And that's disturbing.
But that's the part of autism that is always a challenge, because any type of change can be a trigger. At one point, I remember with Daniel, he knew the way I drove home every time. If I could not go to the store, because if I made the left too soon or too late, that was it. Now, Dabs, the question is that how long does it take for you to, on a typical school year, how long does it take for you to learn a child's routine or a child's triggers?
Well, really could depend on the child. I've been at this for a long time, so I'm pretty good at it. To tell you the truth, to learning the child's trigger. And another thing, is we like to call it needs and not disabilities.
Right.
So
my sister fusses at you all the time because I don't know the terminology.
I know the kids all have different needs, so we have to take care of them differently. But usually I can figure it out pretty quick, and then a lot of times I'm pretty stern. Some kids do stuff they've done and haven't done. I look at the whole thing, I think, a whole lot different than a lot of teachers. A little less babying and a little more teaching versus
right.
I mean, they're all people. I mean, there's not enough people treating them like people. That's the problem. That's where they get lost too. So and that's another way to find out how they really are going to react to certain things. And that's how fast, I usually realize how, what we're triggering and what we're not. Because sometimes you got to try it. They're gonna try you, so you got to try them. And that's how you learn. That's how you learn.
That's a big thing with that, is that sometimes you got to let them go to find out what's going to their limit. Now, unlike Jessica's son, Daniel's he's very verbal. He may not always articulate, and sometimes I got to say, use your words, speak slowly, spell it out. But, the key is to remain as calm as you can and just listen. And they don't have to speak for them to listen. For you to listen, you got to pay attention. And this is what a lot of parents have a challenge with, is because in this world we're so instant everything and our attention spans are so short, we don't know how we don't listen because we're too busy we're too busy looking at the trees to see the forest. Do you ever have that issue, Jessica?
Yes. I want things to be a certain way, and I don't allow Marcellus to just express himself, and you want to keep them safe. You don't want anything to happen. But at the end of the day, I thought about it when we were in Illinois living. We've got a 3-story home, and before he got with the behaviors as bad, I didn't hold his hand every time he go up and down them stairs. He just go. He do what he want, get in the refrigerator. Like your sister said, you kind of got to lock the refrigerator up. But at the end of the day, their needs are different. And then if you're holding them as a baby, and it's like, I'm 21, Ma, let me do a little bit more. And I was at school the other day, and it was a different person and she's breaking his food up, which he will grab everything and stuff in his mouth. So you have to break it up, but she's hand feeding him. And I said, why are you feeding him like that? Well, I didn't know he could feed us. You just put it on the plate and break it up and let him eat. He'll eat, So that's the thing. You always, that babying part, no, he's 21. Let him feed himself. He'll eat it. He may not be able to put it on a spoon and put it in his mouth, but that fork, he can get that and get that piece of meat on that fork and put it on his mouth and eat, And a lot of times even me, you tend to want to kind of do things for them, and they don't really need us to do everything for them. They, do a lot on their own if we just give them that opportunity, So that's, every child or young adult that has, a different need, every need is totally different, and Marcellus understands everything. He's nonverbal. He can't tell your secrets, but believe me, he know what you're doing, so it's like, you got to be careful because he may repeat that. And it's like, where you get that from, boy? But then he understands so much more. You'll do something and you'll turn around and look, and why is he laughing at you? Because he knows what's going on, and he's laughing and probably saying, y'all think I don't have a clue, and I know exactly what's going on, but I just can't communicate it.
Well, that's the thing when my brother was saying about the differences in my nephew's speech and his learning, that he actually taught himself how to put cars together. He took it apart and he'll put it back together, or he taught himself how to use a computer. He posts things all the time, So they know what they're doing. It's just that you as an educator need to know how to understand him without disturbing him. If I'm saying that right.
No, that's about that. That's accurate. And most and I'm going to say most people in the special education field are dedicated, hardworking professionals. You got a few that are just there for the check, but for the most part, they're hardworking, dedicated individuals. But like I said before, they're people.
Right.
They get like you get frustrated, like they get like our children get frustrated, they get frustrated. And we have to be able to understand that sometimes they're not going to give you their best is not going to be good enough. But that's a part of being human. Some days we can do everything right and still not get the result we want. It just is just intensified because we have a child with special needs.
Exactly.
But what's as far Jessica, as far as we talked about some of the issues. What are some of the joys that you have, milestones that Marcellus has reached that just brought joy to your heart?
People will look at us and I'll show pictures and videos and they'll say, "That's an elephant y'all up on." Yes, we up on an elephant. We do different things. And Marcellus, he we treat him like we go on vacation. We do everything. And people are like, "Are you sure he can handle that?" Yes, we can handle it, because then of course, if he has a seizure, we know what to do with these different seizures. But his milestones, I think, are even being able to help dress himself. He knows to put his head down and put his arm in the sleeve, things like that. They didn't say he'd make it past 5. He's 21. So I'm thankful and grateful that he's doing that. They didn't think he would be able to walk. He didn't walk till he was 3.5 years old. So, these are things that I am so grateful for. And I tell my sister, she said, "Girl, he let him come out the door." And I say, "No, because he run better than he walks, so you better leave him inside." He showed shoulder too, so yeah. So yeah, and
At least he doesn't totally disrobe when he has.
Yeah,
he does.
I was just about to say that my nephew don't like to keep no clothes on. He know how to
Myself,
dress himself. He just don't want to put no clothes on. They don't like to keep him no shoes, no clothes.
Yeah. In the middle of the night, though, my cousin told me he was in St. Louis. That's the only person that's actually able to keep him. And I know he's safe. He's got him because he's got an autistic son as well. And he joked with me and says, Marcellus was in the middle of the night walking through the house, and my wife yelled, "Michael, what's going on? What's that?" Marcellus running through the house, and Peter up, and I said, "Oh, Lord have mercy, he was naked." So I think that's something they all like. So
my nephew, he disrobed while his mother was driving.
Oh goodness, yeah.
She had to pull over and make him put his clothes back on. But it's just, I guess that's just a restraint. And if we can get away with it, I probably would too.
Yeah.
I know my sister Apple, if she can get away with walking naked in the street, then she probably would, because she don't like clothes either.
And I want to say he probably was hot.
Yeah, and that's something they can control. They figure they can get out of them clothes because they can take them off. So that's something that they have control over. So that's something that I think that they enjoy doing, because they know, well, I've got control over these clothes. I'm gonna take them off. So
yeah, that's the thing. Go ahead.
Dabs, have you had a student that had to disrobe at any time?
Oh yeah, all the time.
We got fully disrobe, or are they just partially?
We got one kid. Whenever he goes to the restroom, he disrobes completely.
Yeah,
and he sits in there.
I know some adults
that there for half an hour.
Yes.
Yeah, I have some adults that cannot use the bathroom without completely disrobing.
Yeah, completely.
But they don't have any needs.
Now, Dabs, does your school have quiet rooms or stimulation rooms?
Yeah.
We found those to be like, oh my gosh, they were godsends.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You need them, yeah.
And we're fighting to get this at Marcellus' school because they don't have that here. When he was in Illinois, they had it. And his current school doesn't have any quiet rooms or rooms just for them to get away. They have nothing. And it's terrible because Marcellus is in the class alone. He's got one young man that comes in 2 hours a day. Other than that, with his behaviors being so severe, they literally have given him his own classroom. And they said, well, this is kind of like you want, because it's not, because
No,
he's
it's
still in
not.
the same
Needs to
room.
still interact with other people,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm. And he's in these four walls alone. So then they'll take him out and let him walk in the hall and do different things. But okay, now he's in, because there's general ed students at the same school. So the
Oh
bell
yeah.
ring, that's a trigger that's setting them off, because that bell is ringing. Then these kids are on the hall. I said, you guys, it has to be a change. So I've been trying to get this implemented,
and looking
and by the time it gets there, he'll be out of the school system, but at least they'll know this
and
school
Is
needs
there
it.
I
is there
know
not any is there not any private special needs schools in the area?
There is one, and I visited twice, and it's no, I just no, I it's
Georgia,
not.
Georgia's awful when it comes to
Yeah,
special.
yeah,
Georgia and South Carolina add that. Most of the Solid South does not put resources in for
Yeah,
special
that's
needs.
mhm,
As far as a quiet room, I know in Texas they made a corner that was a quiet area. They basically made a giant tent, soundproofed it, and had no light in there,
mhm.
and it just had soft stuff in there. So when Daniel would get agitated, they guide him to that room, and it was in the same room, but it was a different atmosphere.
right.
It was able
Right,
for him to
Yeah, yeah.
de-stress.
We used to have some of them with a little century room. It don't have to be big.
Yeah,
right. Hmm. And
exactly.
I've been told them that there's a closet area there that has storage stuff in it. Take all this stuff out of here and just
Right.
get it
Yeah.
padded, make it equipped enough, just that literally he's the only one in the room, so it wouldn't need to be very big at all. So
Right.
you know, but I'm struggling.
Do you have a support group to where y'all can basically, and I'm just using ghetto terms, gang up on the administrators and say, look, we need y'all need to do better with this education. I'm sorry, I'm cold. I won't turn my heat on. I'm in Florida, so there's no sense in me turning it on, even though it's cold. um, have gang up on them and say, look, we need, better facilities or a better classroom, or I don't want my child to be singled out and be left alone, for those 8 hours that he's in school. Is there any way that y'all can have that support group to do that and talk to them?
I've had to find my own support team, and I didn't know I was legally supposed to have a parent mentor for his special needs, the entire time. This is the last year in school. I'm just finding this out about a month and a half, 2 months ago, that I was supposed to have a mentor guide me the entire time to help me. I didn't know this. So like I said, when we got the lawyers involved, that's when all this started coming up, to where, oh, well, where's her parent advocate? Where's this? I had none of this. I had to go out in the community, calling DBHDD and all these different places, trying to get some sort of support, because I didn't even know the different terms for the Georgia, what the different waivers and things. I had no clue.
Mm.
And is one lady, and she has been my backbone for everything, even getting me help as far as diapers or supplies that we may need, adaptive clothing for him, like you said, because he will get in there and pull things out that he shouldn't. Even on the school bus, he's done it a couple of times. So, I didn't have any support up until about 2 months ago, when I found it on my own. And I said, it's terrible, because now that I'm not working full time, I do have that luxury to say I can get on the phone when he is in school and they're not calling me. I can get on. I can try to do this, try to do that. But what about the family members or parents that just don't have
Just
that?
don't have, right.
They
That's what I
just
was
don't have
saying
that.
about, I think that when you go to the doctor and you get your child tested because you notice there's something wrong, I think instead of giving me a list of medications, give me a list of the support I need in order
Right.
to understand what's going on with my child, and to
Mhm.
make sure I can get them the help that they need. And
Right.
I just hate that, hearing this, that they don't have that, because bad enough. And then I can see it depends on the community that you're in. Bad enough, you have problems with children who don't have any special needs, that they don't have the resources to help them. But we need to do better. Y'all sitting there worrying about giving me this extra stimulus for this and that extra stimulus for that, and or you spending money on this and you spending money on that. Spend the money in the right places. We need these kids to be educated. The teachers are paid terribly across the board wherever you go. They pay terribly.
Kids don't vote, so they're not going to get money.
And that's horrible, because my kid, I vote and I pay my taxes, and guess what? I pay my taxes because I want my kids to have what they're supposed to have, but it's not being spent in the right places. And like Dab said, he had asked you, did they have any private schools in your area, because you probably would have gotten a better outcome of knowledge if you did. But then you just said that you visited one and it was not what you wanted for your child. And luckily you did go visit, but still, it's just still people out there that just basically drop their children off and say, that's your problem for 8 hours. I'm going about
and that's the thing. It's not the problem, and it's the area she's in. The educational system in Augusta, Georgia, Richmond County is not exactly top tier. That's where Dr. Seductive works.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
She's probably told you a few stories.
She's been fussing for a while.
Yeah. So the issue is that like Jessica was saying, there are not enough, not only resources, but ability to find the resources. There's no central office in Richmond County that handles that steers you to the right people, to the right services. It's the same thing in most of South Carolina. Now, I know Richland 1 and Richland 2 have that, but when Daniel was in Georgetown, it was like...
But see, Georgetown is considered more of a rural area, so that's probably why they don't. Yeah, rural areas it's not going to get what they need, and that's why they're starting to pay teachers more money just to go teach in the rural areas. So you get an incentive if you go teach in the rural area, but you have to be there for at least 3 years.
Yeah.
So, but I was fortunate enough that I lived in a district, like he just mentioned, District 1 and District 2, to where they had a lot of resources, and they actually gave the parents some knowledge about what their child should have and shouldn't have, and what you can and cannot do. So I was kind of blessed in that, and that's probably why I'm so not in the loop of what you can do and what you can't have. And it's just bothering me that instead, like I said, instead of handing me a list of what medication is going to help my child, give me something else that's going to help my child just be, considered somewhat normal in a normal atmosphere. I want my child to still be able to interact with others. I still want my child to be able to learn something. Like my nephew, he at one point he had a job to where his job was to pick up to separate the nuts and bolts. But they gave him something to do and a responsibility. You know what I mean? So there should be some type of way that where your child's just not sitting in that class being frustrated because he can't go to the bathroom.
Yes. And the advocate that's been helping me, she brought it up and she says, okay, well, he's about to transition into our regular society. So what transition plans? And they had no clue. Well, he won't be able to, even though you feel he won't be able to work a job, he may not do this. The federal government says he's supposed to have training, like on the job training. He's supposed to do these things. So, and it was like, well, he won't know. And I said, it's crazy because even in Illinois, when they know that these children may not ever do anything, they take them out into the community, to the Goodwill, to the different things. And we literally had to fight for this for him, and they really were like, oh my goodness, where did she find this woman from? Because this lady is so educated to where it's like, no, he's supposed to have this, and just to sign the paperwork so he can go get this. And now, of course, 2 weeks after the meeting, it's like, oh yeah, he is supposed to have this. So yeah, so he should have been had this.
Right.
So
and
now
they transition from an IEP an individual educational plan to an ISP, an individual support plan.
Yes.
And also with the waivers, have you looked into group homes that
I've
have
been Yeah, that's where we're at now as far as like different residential facilities or group homes or day
day
facilities
programs?
that
Yeah.
day programs that he can go to. And a couple of people have actually come out to our home to visit Marcellus before setting a visit for him at the facility, which I figure like, okay, coming here isn't going to help, because if he's going to be at your facility, he needs to be there. You need to see him interact there with the other clients, the other people, and they're scared. Oh,
Well,
well,
what the reason they do that, they want to see what your home looks like, so see what things they can repeat, that things that they can bring over to make the transition go. So that there was a purpose for them to go, because we had to do that with Daniel.
Okay, because I kept saying, now, why they want to come to want to see if I'm a good housekeeper, which is fine. They came and this is nice. He doesn't break your dishes, and I said, no, he doesn't bother anything. He doesn't go in the dining room. He knows that he used to in the kitchen, and and they made it seem like he was just so horrible. I said, no, Marcellus doesn't bother anything. He doesn't sit on my white furniture, and they looked at, you got push buttons. I said, yeah, when he needs to go to the bathroom, he may need some help, he'll push that button. So then we know it's time for him to go to the bathroom. I've even asked him to get these things in the classroom. They'll get one or two, then you go in there and it's on the ground. So, okay, it needs to be put back up. So then he can tap it. He's walking to the bathroom door, has nothing to push. So that's when he gets to hitting. So, but yeah, we've been trying
because he's used to it at home. And Dabs, do you know if your parents duplicate what goes on in the classroom at home, or do you advise them to try to duplicate some of those aspects, or vice versa?
Yes, usually it's vice versa. We usually try to figure out what they're doing at home and maybe duplicate that. And if it's working, of course we will. If it's not working, then we'll, make suggestions to change that. But the ideal is to try to, because a lot of these kids like repetition, and it's got to be the same. They went out the door at 5:30 yesterday. They need to go out the door at 5:30 tomorrow. They need to go out the door at 5:30 the next day. They're very repetitious people.
Not 5:29, not 5:31.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
like you said earlier, don't turn left when you should have turned. Don't miss that turn, bro.
My brother used to make me laugh when he said that he'll tell Daniel when he's coming to get him, he has to remind him, okay, what time am I coming? And he'll tell him what time it is. But if my brother don't show up like he's supposed to,
right,
then it's hell to pay.
Yeah, and that's one thing I learned as a parent, is that mean what you say and say what you mean. If you're gonna,
right.
If I tell him I'm going to do something, like I told him, he said he wanted to learn how to drive. I said, if you do this, I will take you. He did what I asked him to, so I took him. Of course, he wasn't going to pass the test, but look, I had to follow through.
You kept that consistency.
Right.
You kept your promise. So that way he keeps the trust with you. He still trusts you. You said you're going to do something, do it. And that's one thing I learned about a lot of people with needs, that, if you tell them something, they're going to hold that to the Bible. Okay,
oh, yeah.
You got to do it. If you don't do it, then it's all hell going to break loose. And it disturbs the aura for stuff like that to happen. So I'm with you on that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Same for neurotypical children as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to, a lot of them like structure. You have to mean what you say and say what you mean. That goes all across the board.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna bring this show to a close. I appreciate you, Jessica, for coming on. I know being a parent of a child with and understand he's a legal adult, but he ain't grown. He's still young. Thank you for coming on, and Dad, I want to especially thank you for coming on and giving a perspective from an educator. And I hope that my audience learns something today. I want to thank Chocolate Pearl and Apple for always having my back. I want to thank everybody out there for listening, and I ask that you listen, you comment, you like. That's the
And
only way I can get
subscribe.
this message out. I'll put out another message, and we'll do another DFG's Corner, parenting while Black. This is DFG, and I'm going to say good night. And I'm not going to say my usual thing, but Thursday nights you can come on 8:30 Eastern time for Tantalizing Talk for You. Also, I'm a co-host on that, and also Score Bigger Dating on Friday nights at 8 o'clock. Join Razzle Dazzle, Chocolate Pearl, and the crew as they have a good time and fun. Um, ScoreBiggerDating.com. You can find that. Pull it up on Facebook. They'll give you the link. And
It's also on YouTube.
It's also on YouTube and yeah, Facebook and YouTube. And as you can see, the picture of my youngest son, that's I call my clone. That's part of my exit music, and I'm going to start playing it now. So y'all have a great weekend, a great week. Keep the smiles going.
Thanks, Dad. Bye-bye.
All right.